This is not a true story, but it's true to us.
Have you ever felt guilty for something that wasn't your fault? I'm not talking about just feeling bad. I mean constantly trying to fix a mess you didn't make. That is Kelly's reality. Kelly is a survivor, but looking back at the people she left behind, she feels guilty. And that very guilt has been weaponized against her, turning her into a human ATM for her family. Here is Kelly. She is 30, and she is the definition of stable. Kelly has a great job, the kind that pays well enough that she doesn't live paycheck to paycheck. She isn't rich, but in today's economy, being able to afford her level of stability makes her look filthy rich to those struggling. And sitting across the table is Marcus, her boyfriend. There is a saying that goes, "Birds of a feather flock together." We are looking at that right here. Marcus is just as successful as Kelly. But if you look closer at his boundaries, he has achieved what Kelly secretly dreams of. He said no years ago, no to his family. He didn't like being a human ATM, and although he had been taught otherwise, he realized when he started losing himself in the process of helping others that saying no is not giving up on your people. Tonight, this lovely couple is celebrating. Marcus just got a promotion, and who better to celebrate with than the love of his life? But Marcus had a secret agenda. For months, he has been thinking about how Kelly might actually be the one. They've been together for 3 years, and he felt it was time to make things official. The night was going smoothly. They were discussing their dreams, their day-to-day lives, the future, but not work. But eventually, the conversation drifted to someone important in Kelly's life, someone who sometimes feels closer to her than he is. Tasha, Kelly's older sister. Tasha is a single mom of 2. She is the total opposite of her sister. If you looked at her life, you would wonder how it was possible that they came from the same household. But fruits falling off a tree are not always the same, right? It depends on where they land. Tasha landed on rocky soil. And for Tasha, someone was to blame for that disastrous landing. In her mind, she found the best way to fix the wounds she got when hitting the ground. That solution is called entitlement. When Marcus asked about Tasha, it was more of a rhetorical question. Tasha was usually too present in Kelly's life, and he wondered why he hadn't heard Kelly mention her lately. "I think she's mad at me," Kelly said. 3 weeks ago, Tasha made yet another request to her little sister. She needed help covering rent, and Kelly said no. No, I'm just kidding. She wished she could have said no. Here's what actually happened. Kelly told her to wait for the next month because the money she had was scheduled for something else, something she always pushed aside, but which had become urgent. She needed that money to repair her car, so she asked her sister to cut a deal with the landlord for the next month. And that didn't sit well with Tasha. That's why the silence. To Marcus, this was music to his ears. It was exactly what he wanted for her, even if she didn't fully say no yet. He felt proud. It was a step toward a possible breakthrough from that bondage. Marcus felt so excited by this progress that he thought the moment had come. "There is something I would like to ask you, Kelly," he said. He took a serious tone. Kelly knew the question was important. Marcus took her hand and looked her right in the eyes, his other hand reaching for the ring. And then it happened. Right when he was about to show her the ring, his nightmare happened. Kelly's phone rang. Given the serious moment, she didn't feel like taking it, but when she saw who was calling, her demeanor melted. She looked at him the way she always did when it happened, because it always happened during these moments. Without even looking at the phone, Marcus knew it was Tasha. He sighed and put the ring back in his pocket. Kelly whispered a thank you with sorry eyes as she picked up the call. Remember that request from Tasha? Well, now she was making it again, and this time Kelly couldn't afford to say no. Turns out, Tasha hadn't paid her rent for the past 3 months. The landlord, who was a nice guy, had finally had enough. He issued an eviction notice, the ultimatum, pay or leave. "Oh my God, where are the kids?" Kelly asked, worried. "I left them in the car. I don't want them to realize what's happening. Kelly, if you don't help me now, I don't know what I'm gonna do. You know now it's just the 2 of us, and we have to support each other." She said each other. You heard it, right? But why is Kelly the only one doing the supporting? "Don't worry, I'll send it now. Just find a way to calm things down with the landlord, and do not let the kids understand what is happening. That would be devastating for them."
Kelly, the human ATM, said, "I don't know about you guys, but I wish I had a personal ATM as well." Before she hung up, Marcus knew the night was over. He just nicely offered to drop her off at her place. On the way back, Kelly kept apologizing, and Marcus understood her, even if he held a little resentment towards Tasha for destroying their night. But to truly understand this level of audacity, to understand why Tasha feels so entitled to Kelly's money, we need to go back 15 years to the tragedy that started it all. At that time, Tasha was 19. Remember the metaphor about the fruit landing on rocky soil? Well, by that time, Tasha was already a mom. Her firstborn had just turned 2. And that, dear viewers, is something her mom found hard to digest. It was the very thing that would create the dynamic we're seeing between the two sisters. Let me explain. Joyce was single. She had raised her 2 daughters alone for as long as she could remember. The father was absent, but she thought that was no reason for her to fail her kids. She demonstrated that through the sacrifices she made every single day. So when Tasha became pregnant, it felt worse than a betrayal. Joyce felt like all her efforts for Tasha were for nothing. Joyce was literally working to exhaustion, living the modern economic survival experience. One day, after a really long shift, she felt a surge of pride. Her efforts started paying off again. She succeeded in getting Kelly a scholarship to a prestigious school, a school that would open doors for the entire family. But the scholarship wasn't full. She still had related expenses to secure. That cost her everything, but she was willing to make the sacrifice. Perhaps she felt guilty that she didn't do a good enough job with her first daughter, so she was trying to rewrite the story with her second. In the process, she unfortunately had to sacrifice Tasha. She poured her last dime, money that came from her burial plan insurance, by the way, into helping Kelly. She told Tasha to start taking responsibility. Joyce would help with babysitting and feeding, but any other expense was Tasha's to cover. That, dear viewers, felt like a betrayal to Tasha. Even though she was a mom now, she didn't feel like an adult. She felt abandoned by her mother, and that feeling would later transform into resentment. But that resentment didn't truly solidify until 10 years later when tragedy struck. Joyce died suddenly, and remember how she poured her life savings into securing Kelly's future? Well, that bill finally came due. Because of that investment, she had no burial insurance, and the total bill was $7,000. Tasha was devastated, but she was also furious. She wept, but as a mother of 3 now, she had nothing to give. Or maybe she just didn't want to. What do you guys think? But one thing is for sure, that moment was the grand opening of our human ATM. Tasha looked at Kelly, the one who made it, the one with the corporate job, the one who escaped. So Kelly swiped her first major credit card. $7,000 went on credit. She buried her mother with borrowed money. And standing over the casket, Tasha twisted the knife. She told Kelly Joyce died in debt because she bet everything on the golden child. Kelly absorbed this. She didn't argue. She didn't try to explain that she didn't ask for this. She already knew. She stood over her mother's casket and inherited not just grief, but the debt of guilt. Back to the present. We find Kelly in her apartment after Marcus dropped her off. She's about to make the transfer.
To give Tasha the money for the eviction, Kelly must drain her car repair fund. She knows her car is failing. She knows the transmission will give out soon. But the choice is clear: her sister's immediate crisis or her own future crisis. She learned this equation long ago. As she is about to make the transfer, she has a moment of doubt. A thought tells her that maybe there is a way to solve this without draining her account. But then she looks at a picture on the wall. Her, Tasha, and their mom in her university dorm. They were helping her move in. That day, her mom gifted her a brand new laptop. Kelly felt guilty for that. Guilty for receiving so much while Tasha didn't have much. She remembers Tasha's face that day. She looked happy, but you could find something else in her eyes. By the way, Kelly still has that laptop. It's one of the evidences of the sacrifice. Kelly makes the transfer. $5,400 disappears from her account. $1,800 times 3 for each month Tasha didn't pay rent. Wait, I'm just wondering, why? Why did she let things get there? Anyway, Kelly watches the balance drop. She isn't just paying rent for her sister, she is paying interest on the life Tasha didn't get to have. The next day, we follow Kelly at her office. She arrives slightly late because her car refused to start that morning. And guess who couldn't afford to repair it? Kelly sits at her desk trying to focus. Derek approaches her. Derek is a friendly coworker, but friendly in the Kelly sense. Friendly like Tasha, you'll see what I mean. Derek starts telling Kelly that he is overloaded. He has a high-stakes strategy presentation due tomorrow, but he's been asked to network with stakeholders, code for prioritizing his own advancement. He asks Kelly if she can help him by ghostwriting the presentation. He promises he'll add his own polish and present it himself. It will only take her a few hours. By now, you already know Kelly. You know what her reply will be. Of course, Kelly agrees immediately. She doesn't set boundaries. She just says yes and absorbs Derek's deadline onto her own plate. That day, she stays late. She researches, writes, analyzes, and synthesizes Derek's presentation. She makes it sharp, visionary, brilliant, and she sends it to Derek. After doing all this work, you would think Kelly was tired, and she was, but not tired enough to go home and rest. She decided to check up on Tasha to see how the eviction issue was handled. Kelly arrives at Tasha's place. Tasha is relieved and grateful. She immediately begins venting about her latest crisis, the landlord, the bills, the unfairness of the system. Kelly listens passively. Tasha is exhausted. She's back in crisis mode, expecting that the next emergency is always coming. Amara, 8 years old, watches her Auntie Kelly. She notices something. Auntie Kelly's shoulders are tense. Auntie Kelly looks tired in a way that's different from how Mommy looks tired. Amara approaches Kelly quietly. She places her small hands on Kelly's shoulders and begins rubbing them, trying to work out the tension. Her touch is tender and practiced, like she's done this before. Then Amara does something that stops Kelly cold. The child reaches into her pocket and pulls out a crumpled $5 bill. It's her piggy bank savings. She offers it to Kelly. Kelly is horrified. She gently refuses the money, but something breaks inside her in that moment. She sees herself in Amara. She sees a child already internalizing that women fix things. Kelly realizes, by saving Tasha with money, she is not actually helping Tasha. She is teaching Amara that women are responsible for solving everyone else's problems. This is the moment Kelly understands. The cycle will not break until she breaks it, but she doesn't do it. Not yet. She's probably waiting for another crisis that will drain her so much she won't have any choice but to say no. 2 months later, Kelly is in her office working when she gets notice about the meeting. That meeting, dear viewers, is the spark that sets the forest on fire. When a meeting like this happens, it means someone is getting promoted. This is exactly what Kelly needs. Kelly was confident. She had been executing all the unpaid extra tasks her boss gave her. In her mind, she was top of the list. The meeting starts. She sits right near Derek. They're both excited. The boss starts speaking about goals the firm has achieved. Then comes the moment. He says it. They decided to promote someone based on the visionary brilliance of a recent strategy presentation. He names Derek. Derek publicly thanks Kelly for being a great support, despite not actually writing a word of that presentation. Everyone starts cheering for Derek. Kelly does the same, unconsciously. She was wired that way, remember? But inside, she is boiling. But even a great pretender like Kelly has limitations. She couldn't take it anymore. She excused herself, left the room, and found refuge in her office. There, she let go. Tears started flowing. Kelly sees it clearly now. She is fueling Derek's rise exactly the same way Tasha fueled hers, and she is fueling Tasha's survival now. She is standing still so someone else can climb. She is making herself invisible so someone else can shine. The pattern is identical. The only difference is that at work, Kelly can see it happening in real time. With Tasha, she couldn't see it until years had passed. Days later, Kelly tries to get used to the situation. She accepts what happened, but one thing hadn't changed. Her car was still broken. So she decided to take overtime to save money to fix it.
During a meeting, Derek approaches Kelly. He has additional work overflowing from his desk. He asks if Kelly can take some of it. He says it's temporary. And Kelly says no. She refuses. As the word came out of her mouth, Derek was not the only one surprised. Kelly couldn't understand where she got the strength. "Okay," Derek said, and he left. Derek didn't try to force anything. He didn't emotionally blackmail her. He simply respected her boundary. Every time she daydreamed about this moment, she imagined the worst, but reality was simple. Kelly holds her hand over her mouth, still in shock. Then she smiles. She was proud of herself. Later that day, Kelly is giving a presentation. In the middle of a sentence, her vision narrows. The room tilts. She loses her grip on the edge of the table. She collapses. Coworkers rush to help. Right before losing consciousness, Kelly thinks about her mother. That's exactly the way she spent her last minutes on Earth. Was it happening to her too?
At the doctor's office, Kelly receives the diagnosis. It's not a disease, and it's not something that can be cured with a pill. The doctor uses a clinical term, allostatic load. It's the breaking down of the human body under the weight of chronic survival stress. The doctor explains that her nervous system is always in crisis mode. Kelly nods. She's heard versions of this before, but no one had ever named it. The body breaking under the weight of carrying everyone else. Kelly leaves the doctor's office and stands in the bathroom. She looks in the mirror. She sees her mother's face, not her own. Her mother's hollowed out, exhausted, worn face. She sees the future she's headed toward. For the first time, she's truly afraid, not of being sick, but of becoming her mother. When she gets home, emotionally fragile, Marcus is there. Later that evening, he finds something, her hidden, half-finished graduate school applications for a counseling program. She started them months ago and abandoned them. "I found these," Marcus says. "I know you've been thinking about this." Kelly tries to explain that she doesn't have time, but Marcus is tired of her making excuses. "You should always find time for things that matter to you," Marcus says firmly. "Kelly, you can't keep being what others want you to be and ignore yourself in the process." She listens quietly. She knows he is right. "You can help someone and still help yourself," Marcus adds. "I love you, but I need you to know something. Choosing yourself will feel like a betrayal. It will feel like you're being selfish, but that feeling is a lie. The people who truly love you will survive without you sacrificing yourself." He kisses her on the forehead and leaves her apartment. Kelly is left alone with the applications. The next day, Kelly sits down at her laptop. She opens the graduate school application. The personal statement prompt stares at her. What experiences have shaped who you are, and what do you hope to become? She begins typing. She writes that she has spent 15 years being a monument to a sacrifice she never asked for. She writes that she became an investment instead of a person. She learned that love means unlimited giving, and saying no means betrayal. She writes, "I am terrified of my own ambition because I was taught that my success belongs to everyone but me." She writes about her mother, about her sister, about Amara. She types, "I want to break this cycle, not for heroic reasons, but for practical ones. If I don't break it, my niece will repeat it, and the cycle will never end." She hits submit. For the first time in 15 years, the debt clock in her head stops ticking, and it feels like relief. A week later, Kelly visits Tasha. She's nervous, but clear. She tells Tasha, "I'm setting a boundary. I cannot keep giving you money, but I can help you figure out how to solve your own problems. I can help you find resources. I can help you make a plan, but I won't give you cash anymore." Tasha is shocked. She's angry. She feels betrayed. "So now that you have made it, you decided to abandon us?" Kelly says, "I made it a long time ago, and ever since I've always been there for you, but no one was there for me. I need to build a life, Tasha. I just have enough for myself. We can't both drown at the same time." Tasha tells Kelly she's forgotten where she came from. She calls her cold and selfish. Kelly leaves the apartment feeling like a monster. But 1 week later, a real crisis hits. Tasha's power is shut off. It's winter. The apartment is dark and cold. Tasha calls Kelly, sobbing. "The power's out. I don't know what to do. Can you please help me? The kids are scared." Kelly's heart breaks. Every instinct screams at her to solve this, to swipe the card, to be the rescue. She feels like she's drowning. She feels like a monster. But somehow she finds the strength to say no. She tells Tasha she can't pay the bill, but she is willing to take the kids for a moment. Tasha doesn't say anything and just hangs up. She sits with the agony of the silence. She forces herself to endure the knowledge that her sister is in crisis and she is not solving it. She's tempted to call Tasha again and ask her to bring the kids, but she decides not to. She already made the offer. It was her decision to bring the kids or not. Later that evening, someone knocks at her doors, and her heart is relieved when she sees Tasha and the kids. She immediately hugs them. "I found a community resource," Tasha says quietly. "There's a nonprofit that helps families with utility bills. I applied, and they're going to cover it by tomorrow. Can we stay here for the night?" Tasha found a solution without Kelly. For the first time in years, Tasha found a solution without the human ATM. Kelly cries, not because Tasha suffered, but because Tasha survived, because Tasha is capable, because Kelly's help had been preventing Tasha from accessing her own capability all along. This is the moment Kelly realizes the person she's been saving never needed saving. The next morning, Kelly is home recovering. She's watching TV, something she hasn't done in ages. Tasha enters the room after dropping the kids at school. There's a weird silence. Tasha is embarrassed. The entitlement has left the building, replaced by shame. She realizes she hasn't been a good sister. See, Marcus had actually called Tasha that morning, right while she was dropping the kids off at school. When Kelly mentioned she was hosting them, Marcus got scared. He wasn't afraid of the guests. He was afraid Kelly wouldn't stand firm, that she'd slip right back into that financial bondage. So he made the call. He didn't call to threaten her. He called to force her to face the reality. He told Tasha about Kelly's collapse at the office. He explained that Kelly's inability to say no was physically destroying her. "Why didn't you tell me what happened?" Kelly replies that she didn't want to bother her. Tasha realizes even more how broken their relationship was. Kelly didn't share her pain because Tasha treated her nothing like a loved one. They sit in silence. 1 year later, Kelly, Tasha, and her kids meet for coffee. And if you look closely at Kelly's hand, you'll see it. Marcus finally got his moment. No interruptions this time. They are engaged. In fact, this coffee date isn't just a hangout. They're here to discuss wedding preparations. Tasha is different now. She's still struggling sometimes, but she's not in crisis mode. She's earning her own money. She hasn't paid back the money Kelly gave her, but that's not the point. The point is that she's building something. Amara is sitting with them. She's just being a kid, excited about being a flower girl. Tasha buys the coffee. It's a small gesture, but it reverses a 15-year pattern. Tasha is providing. She wants to contribute to her sister's big day, even if it starts with just buying the lattes. Truth be told, they never actually addressed the past. The relationship got better, the dynamic shifted, and the entitlement vanished, but they never spoke about it. I guess Tasha hadn't gathered the necessary courage to look her sister in the eye and name her mistake. But today, looking at Kelly happy and free, she finally found it. "I owe you an apology. I used you as a crutch. I was afraid to fail, so I made you the solution, and I resented you for it. I hated that you escaped when I stayed behind, but you didn't escape. You just carried me with you the whole time." Kelly holds Tasha's hand. Then they talk about Joyce, not as a saint or a villain, but as a woman who did the best she could with a broken system. They forgive Joyce, and in doing so, they forgive each other. The next day,
Kelly sits at her laptop scrolling through real estate listings. She's daydreaming about owning a piece of her neighborhood, a home for her and Marcus to start their family, a building block for actual wealth. With her new stability, Marcus and her can afford the down payment. She schedules an appointment with a mortgage broker. She walks into that office full of hope with Marcus. Kelly has successfully escaped the personal black tax, that crushing obligation to family. But now, she's walking straight into the arms of the systemic one. And while Kelly's journey taught us how to set boundaries, our next story will teach us how to break barriers. But that, dear viewers, is a fight for our next episode.